Major news alert: if you get your mail from the U.S. Postal Service or care about government power, this update's for you. According to an exclusive from the Washington Post, President Trump is planning to fire the entire governing board of the U.S. Postal Service and bring the USPS directly under the Commerce Department, essentially making it part of his administration.
It's an NTR Tech app. Please like the video, share, and subscribe to the channel.
So Trump, throughout his presidency, has always been vocal in his criticism towards the United States Postal Service, also referred to as USPS. One of his claims was that the reason USPS is struggling is because it had too many employees and was not charging businesses, especially the e-commerce companies like Amazon, enough to cover delivery costs. While Trump plans to eliminate the USPS governing board and bring the Postal Service under his administration, many are asking, is this even legal, and do he have the power? Check down below. This is major. Should the post office remain independent or under presidential control?
So let's break this down legally. Right now, the United States Postal Service is an independent agency, meaning it's supposed to operate separately from direct political control. The governing board is appointed by the president, but once confirmed, they make decisions without interference. That independence helps protect mail service from political influence. If Trump issues this executive order, it would completely dissolve the board and place the Postal Service under the executive branch. That's a major shift, and it could raise serious legal and constitutional challenges. So here's the big question. Does the president have the power to do this?
All right, guys, it looks like Target is about to cave. Remember how almost immediately following the inauguration, they rolled back all their DEI policies to try to appease and placate to Trump? And how immediately following that decision, they began seeing declines in foot traffic in their stores for 10 consecutive weeks. Well, it seems that the brains of the high-up execs are finally kicking in after their wallets have shut up. Because now they are begging civil rights leaders to help them out of this hole. The meeting, which, yes, Target called for, included CEO Brian Cornell and civil rights advocate Reverend Al Sharpton. And it was mainly around how civil rights groups were urging consumers not to shop at Target anymore. And it seemed that Target literally needed the cause for this explained to them in very simple terms, because apparently they still didn't get it. Because it was reported that Sharpton said, "You can't have an election come and all of a sudden change your old positions. If an election determines your commitment to fairness, then fine, you have a right to withdraw from us, but then we have a right to withdraw from you." He then continued and laid down the law, saying, "I haven't called for a specific boycott of Target yet, but if y'all don't reinstate those DEI policies, I sure will." And Target tucking their tail and running to civil rights groups for help from mommy and daddy is especially funny to me, because they acted like in the earnings report that this was some big overall industry downward trend. But no, just Target, because Costco has been seeing consecutive foot traffic increases ever since they remained committed to DEI, the same time that Target rolled back their DEI. Target tried blaming it on the cold weather, said that consumers just weren't confident in shopping. They're just not confident in shopping at Target, bitch.
Jen, what do we know about this strike?
Yeah, Anna, well, of course, Israeli military action has been seen across the Middle East, but this now includes the Gulf state of Qatar. We know that there were blasts heard in the capital, Doha, earlier, and I'll get right to the statement from the Israeli Defense Forces, which say the IDF conducted a precise strike targeting the senior leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization. Prior to the strike, measures were taken in order to mitigate harm to civilians, including the use of precise munitions and additional intelligence. Now, this is all unfolding rather quickly, Anna. As soon as this came out, it was unclear whether or not the Qataris were aware or had been notified of this attack. And moments later, a statement from Qatari officials, which I will now read to you. The state of Qatar strongly condemns the cowardly Israeli attack that targeted residential buildings housing several members of the political bureau of Hamas in the Qatari capital, Doha. This criminal assault constitutes a blatant violation of all international laws and norms and poses a serious threat to the security and safety of Qataris and residents in Qatar. The ministry affirms that the security forces, civil defense, and relevant authorities immediately began addressing the incident and taking necessary measures to contain its repercussions and ensure the safety of the residents and surrounding areas. While the state of Qatar strongly condemns this assault, It confirms that it will not tolerate this reckless Israeli behavior and the ongoing disruption of regional security, nor any act that targets its security and sovereignty. Finally, investigations are underway at the highest level, and further details, they say, will be announced as soon as they are available. That Israel would conduct a strike on Qatar is quite simply shocking. Qatar has been considered a neutral third country. As you said earlier, Anna, it's been the home of the negotiations for this war between Israel and Hamas. Home, of course, to the political branch of Hamas as well. According to Israeli media, I should note, Channel 12 is reporting that not only were the Americans notified of this strike, but that it was given the green light by the U.S. president. We have not yet heard from the White House, I should point out. And I should say that we do not know if those officials targeted by Israel were in fact killed today. But as I say, Anna, a lot of information coming out minute by minute here, and we'll be updating you.
Donald Trump just got absolutely embarrassed by Iran, and President Obama is the reason. Now, Donald Trump just sent a big, beautiful letter to Iran, asking them to come to the table to discuss a nuclear deal, something President Obama was successful at doing. And Iran immediately responded to Donald Trump, saying this, quote, "The insistence on the part of some bully states on negotiations is not to resolve issues, but to dominate and impose their own expectations. The Islamic Republic of Iran will definitely not accept their demands," unquote. And this is Donald Trump's fault. He set this up. Iran is saying, look, we don't trust you. You're not here to make a deal. Look what Donald Trump did with the USMCA and where he's at now. Look at how he's dealing with Ukraine. Iran looks at Donald Trump and says, nah, you're all talk. But President Obama was able to get Iran to the table and strike a deal. A deal, by the way, that Donald Trump undone, hoping that he could get his own deal in place. And he has absolutely failed. And I promise you, the ketchup is hitting the wall at bar.
Do you see this raid at the Hyundai construction site? Well, this woman is allegedly responsible for the raid. Listen to what she had to say.
So there were 452 illegals, and I was the one that reported the information that I had to ICE. But it goes beyond just someone working illegally. Let me explain to you. These people are working for slave wages. Some are not getting paid. Some are being trafficked. They send money home to their country. They give money to their handler. They have hardly anything left. They live in homes of 5 families deep, have no quality of life. It's modern day slavery. So if you think that ICE is just going in and ripping people out of their jobs, these hardworking people that want a better life, well, guess what? Politicians have really screwed these people, because when they came here, they thought they were, hey, the border's open, we're coming in, we're going to get the 5-star treatment, and we can go to the big Walmart, and we can live in a 5-star hotel, and that's just not how it is.
So this is Tory Branham, a Republican candidate for Georgia's 12th congressional district, who as a politician should have thought about how shutting down the single biggest economic investment made by a company in Georgia's history would affect her constituents. This was confirmed by Rolling Stone, and according to the report, Tory recruited a Spanish-speaking union worker who had access to the site to become her informant. After hearing rumors of the construction site using undocumented labor and 3 worker deaths at the site. Ironically, the other workers trusted this union worker because he had previously helped them win lawsuits against unsafe work conditions. So Tory took the rumors and the information from the informants and gave it to authorities. Authorities did say that this was a part of a months-long investigation with multiple agencies, but did not mention that this was started by Tory. And Tory is proud of what she did, saying, quote, "This is what I voted for, to get rid of a lot of," and that word, but not everyone that was detained was undocumented. There are already reports that 2 people that were detained were engineers who came to the U.S. to advise briefly on the work and were planning to go back to South Korea soon. Also, some crossed into the U.S. undocumented, some had visa waivers and were prohibited from working, and some had overstayed their visas. But they didn't go there with the knowledge of who was working undocumented because they were harassing everyone, including people with status. When I first saw her video, I knew that she had no actual sympathy for the workers. Because if she did, she would have found a way to hold the corporation accountable and not send the Gestapo goon after the workers. All she did was help the Trump administration rip more families apart and financially ruin them for her political gain. So like I said in my first video, these are people whose only infraction was probably working without authorization. And I guarantee you that most of them would fix their status if this government didn't keep intentionally making it difficult for people to do so. But like I said before, this government wants to keep people undocumented so they can be exploited, used as pawns in these political games, and are the ones that end up being blamed for everything while the bosses and corporations get off free.
We have more breaking legal news just in. A federal appeals court has upheld the verdict that Trump defamed writer E. Jean Carroll and that he must pay her $83 million in damages.
So, Anna, this is the second ruling from the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in the second E. Jean Carroll trial. You'll remember E. Jean Carroll went to trial against President Trump twice. The first of her verdicts was upheld by this same court. That was for a $5 million award. This is the verdict that represents what President Trump said about E. Jean Carroll when he was still in office. So he appealed that verdict on multiple grounds, including the fact that the Supreme Court's presidential immunity decision should have protected him not only from damages, but also from even having to sit through the trial in the first place. Today, through what's called a per curiam decision, meaning it's unsigned, all three judges agree. They have upheld the verdict in its entirety, including the punitive damages award. That means, as of today, E. Jean Carroll's $83.3 million verdict against President Trump still holds, and it is accumulating interest over time, so that ultimately, if the Supreme Court either upholds it or rejects a challenge by President Trump, she'll walk away with even more.
Donald Trump is going to have a bad night as Canada just publicly burned him in the worst possible way in response to his 51st state comment. Now, if you're not aware, Donald Trump insulted both the Prime Minister and Canada itself by calling him the governor of the 51st state. Well, Canadian MP Charlie Angus has just responded, and he hit Donald Trump where it hurts the most. Take a listen.
So yes, they are our neighbors, but we have stood up to them. We're in a different situation with Donald Trump, a convicted predator.
That's right. They didn't go to petty insults. They reminded Donald Trump exactly of who he is, a felon. The sad part about this, though, these are our allies. If we have issues, if there's a problem to be worked out, we should just have conversations like adults. However, Donald Trump is not able to do that. That's not a level he can get to. Instead, he has to resort to these childlike insults. Now, you know Donald Trump is going to respond with something else petty instead of just being an adult saying, okay, you got me back. Now let's settle our issues.
You mother animals!
Hey, sis. So you seem really emotional right now. And I personally think that it is worth it to have the cost of, unfortunately, a few pew-pew unalivings every single year so that we could all enjoy the Second Amendment. Do you think that sounds harsh? It does, because that's a Charlie Kirk quote. So maybe he took one for the team. You thinking that the left are animals and violent, and then now you suddenly want empathy for Charlie Kirk? Please.
A young man who's never hurted anyone.
I mean, I wonder what could have inspired someone to do something like this. Could it have been his bigotry, LGBTQ community, his racism? Oh no, his constant stream of bleeding trash. And
look at all this trash left outside of Charlie Kirk's memorial in Glendale, Arizona. People left water bottles and chairs. They left wagons. They left snacks. All of it just littered across the ground. State Farm Arena has a no bag policy, not just clear bags, no bags. And that means folks who were out here since early this morning just left all their stuff out here. I don't know who's going to clean it up. Crowds of literally hundreds and thousands of people are just walking over this trash on their way to the security checkpoints.
I do, but Charlie Kirk is definitely not the morals I support or the religion I support, where you're just taught to love your neighbor, not hate your neighbor.
Respect.
Yeah, love your neighbor.
So okay, if you disagree, so this is loving your neighbor.
I'm not gonna love a man who doesn't even.
You don't have to. You're not loving your neighbor. You said you're not loving your neighbor.
You're right. I'm not judging. It is not my right to judge, but it is also not your right to judge either.